Purple haze. Why purple haze? Because the conference color is purple, and one of the goals of this conference is to dispel the haze around data science and machine learning. We're going to all do that together, so it'll be a lot of fun. Wasn't that film awesome? I want to thank everybody who did that, Peter and Whitney. Are you not entertained? That was great. I had to land that line in the keynote. So welcome to AnacondaCon. We're totally psyched to have you here. I really want to thank all our community members, people who work on open source projects and people who participate in that. Can you please stand up if you're a community member? Excellent. Let's give you guys a round of applause. Also want to welcome our customers and partners. Thrilled to have you here. It's a big event for us, and we really like having your support. So please give our customers and partners a round of applause. And I want to give a special shout out to our co-founders, Travis Oliphant and Peter Wang. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Stand up. Stand up and be recognized, guys. Thank you very much for what both of you have done. We wouldn't be around without you. And we've truly built a great company on the shoulders of a couple of giants. So thanks again. We have lots of guest stars today. I believe in crowdsourced keynotes. They're the best thing. So you won't be seeing that much of me, but you'll be seeing a lot of guest stars. And at the very end, we have a special surprise guest star. And I bet you won't be able to guess who that is. So let's talk about some company and community highlights from the last 12 months since the last AnacondaCon. I'm pretty psyched about graphs. Is kind of a shallow business guy. I like up and to the right. That's kind of my favorite direction. It's something I'm very fond of. So community, look at the community uptake. That's a lot of folks, right? So effectively, we kind of go double platinum every month in terms of downloads, in terms of people on our platform, and it's not slowing down. It is absolutely not slowing down. Let's look at our cloud usage. So Anaconda Cloud is something we don't really market, we don't really do anything with, but boom, up and to the right. Gotta love that, right? That's the community demand for what we do. And, how can a CEO not talk about revenue growth? Pretty happy about that too. And guys, this isn't in single dollars, this isn't in thousands, this is in millions, okay? So, gotta be clear about that. I can't put the scale there, I'd violate my fiduciary responsibilities to the board, but I'm very, very pleased about this. But I do want to emphasize something. We're building a real business. This is not some kind of fad. This is not hype. We're not waving our hands and thinking up magical categories of software. We're building a real business. Make no mistake about it. So I'm really happy what we've done over the last 2.25 years. Some of you have been to a few AnacondaCons. We're a little old company, really struggling to succeed. But over the last 2.25 years, we've put a lot of effort into building on the shoulders of these two giants who founded the company. So I want to thank every single employee at Anaconda for putting in the effort over the last couple of years to get where we are. Thank you very much. I want to talk a little bit more about our community efforts over the last year. We've done some really great things. We have a data access project led by Martin Durant, and Julia Signal is also working on it called Intake. Very happy about that. We made great inroads into Dask. We have a lot of Dask contributors at our company. Matt Rockland, the Dask leader, is here. Really happy about the progress we made there. Pandas, we have a lot of involvement with Pandas. Very happy about the Pandas progress. Bokeh, we got a vision for vision. And I'll tip my hand a little bit on the demo stuff, and we're going to see a little PyViz Bokeh action a little later in the keynote. Numba, these guys are killing it. We have low-level compatibility with every single chipset known to mankind. And that low-level compatibility creates a kind of performant data science in an easily accessible language that's so important to our community. So hats off to Stan and the rest of the Numba crew, Sue, all you guys, you've been killing it. And then finally, Rapids. We've worked heavily with our partner, NVIDIA, on a project for our GPU compatibility. GPU is super important to our customers. Our partner, NVIDIA, has been a great partner in developing this technology, and we see a lot of legs on Rapids over the next year or two. So let's talk about enterprise. The efforts that we spent on the last year were really around platform agnostic deployment. You got to build the foundation of the enterprise software before you start putting on the bells and whistles. And as dowdy as platform-agnostic deployment and scalability and reliability and robustness seem, the fact is you have to get those fundamentals in place before you start adding on top of the platform. And we'll talk with some of our customers about that in the course of the keynote. Really excited about it. And here are some of our other customers, just a few, not all of them, but very happy about the labels we have and the partnerships we're forming with customers. We have true strategic relationships with our customers, and I'm very excited about that. And I'm so excited about it that I want to welcome one of our special customers, Rahul Tokar, who is Vice President of Enterprise Data Science and Machine Learning at Charles Schwab. Rahul? Hey, dude, good to see you.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for coming out. Now, I have to tell a little joke on Rahul. Can I tell that joke?
Yeah.
I call my mom, and I'm like, hey, we got all these guest stars at the keynote, because my mom's always on me, like, did you close that Micron deal? And, kind of, I feel like I'm at a board meeting when I talk to my mother. But anyway, I was telling her about the guest stars at the keynote, and I said, yeah, I got people from this company, and Charles Schwab will be on stage. And my mom's like, wow, Charles Schwab must be awfully old. Thank you. I guess I'm not as funny as my kids think I am. But anyway, I said, no, it's not Charles Schwab. And my mom lost complete interest in the keynote.
Talk to Chuck.
Yeah.
It's still one of the calls we get, and it's certainly a popular commercial to talk to Charles Schwab, the founder.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you here. We've been partners for a couple of years now, and you've been very thoughtful talking to us about product futures and where your company's going. So tell me a little bit about your role and mission at Charles Schwab.
Yeah, happy to talk about that. And prior to that, let me give a little bit of background about Schwab for some of the folks in the room who may not know as much about Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab, as a company, is very much a diversified financial services company focused on asset management. And some of the numbers we have now with a fantastic growth, $3.5 trillion assets under management. It's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
10 million accounts, customers in brokerage accounts, checking, savings. So it's a fantastic growth story for us. Last few years have been great. And with that, it really comes down to how we can shape, from a data science standpoint, help continue with that growth. And our vision for the data science group is really bring the latest and greatest of technology and continue to build intelligent solutions and products that can help our company across multiple channels and really benefit the clients at the end of the day.
This is a tough lift.
It is.
It's a big deal. What are some of the challenges you're facing when you're doing that?
So I've been at Schwab for about 3 years now, and we went through our own journey from a data science standpoint, how do you set up the team, how do you grow and scale. Went through a lot of challenges, obviously foundation. Establishing that foundation is always the toughest part, getting the right talent. Now we have fantastic folks in place. But I would say one of the biggest challenges I see, and I continue to see at Schwab, but also for the industry, is around getting the data available in the right way and also deploying models. I mean, what I would call this as data science in general has an in and out problem. Not the burger joint, but just in and out. And it's really about how do you get these models deployed in the fastest manner. And I would say that's an opportunity for not only for us, but everybody in the company. And to that certain extent, I would say there's a lot of focus about how do you get data scientists to be more effective? How do you get the models to be more optimized, efficient, automated even? But the real focus should be about the two ends, in and out. And I would love to shift the narrative a little bit in that, because that's an opportunity for all of us.
Awesome. And, okay, this is going to come off as a little self-serving, but what about Anaconda in this context?
I would say, Anaconda, certainly we've invested in Anaconda from our tool standpoint, and we've revamped our data science stack. And I would look at Anaconda around as an operating system for how our data scientists do their work, how do they collaborate, how they work, but also build around that. This is where I would see it's a fantastic partnership. I would love to evolve that, love to see how you shape your roadmap from a model deployment standpoint. A lot of areas I'd love to see. Model deployment is very critical, as I mentioned earlier. The vision would be one-click deployment, getting the experimentation components tacked onto that, auditing and monitoring, which is so important for us, and also looking at CI/CD. A lot of components around that, but really I look at it as a foundational piece in our tech stack as we look at Anaconda.
Sounds like a good story. Well, thank you very much, Rahul.
Absolutely.
I really
Pleasure.
appreciate you coming out.
Pleasure to be here.
And Rahul doesn't only run data science. He's kind of a part-time sales guy. He sold me on opening a Charles Schwab account last night over dinner, and I will do that. I always keep my promises. So we have a number of guest stars. We have one more guest star for this section of the keynote, Josh Patterson, who does AI infrastructure in NVIDIA. Been a great partner for us. Josh, come on up. Hey, good to see you. Is that an Anaconda shirt?
No, this is I Am AI shirt.
Ah, I got you.
But yesterday I wore my Anaconda shirt.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you doing that. So tell us a little bit about what you do at NVIDIA.
Sure. So NVIDIA is an AI company. We're primarily known for graphics and deep learning, but most of the world's supercomputers are also using NVIDIA hardware, and we do a lot in the data science community. And so my role is really to help make sure we're accelerating all the various applications and technologies that data scientists use.
That's awesome. You've been such a great partner for us, and I feel like an old friend is sitting with me up here on stage because we see each other every couple of months, whether we want to or not, and I think we always do want to. Talk to me a little bit about how we're working together, Anaconda and NVIDIA.
Absolutely. So CUDA-X AI was recently announced 2 weeks ago by Jensen, and it covers all the different libraries that we use inside of NVIDIA to accelerate data science. And this is everything from Nickel to cuBLAS, cuDNN, as well as things in Rapids. And so Rapids is a Python-first open source data science framework. We heavily rely on things like Dask and Numba. And we've been working together on this for years now, starting with the GPU Open Analytics Initiative, all the way to Rapids. And the team has been amazing. Peter Wang, Stan, Sue. All of them, and so it's been a great partnership.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. What do you think the the future of the partnership looks like?
There's a lot of great things that we're doing. We also announced the Data Science Workstation. We're continuing to expand Rapids. And one thing that I think everyone is realizing is the importance of a good Conda Python distribution, I should say, and how important Conda is to that ecosystem. I think our partnership is going to continue to grow and evolve, as well as integrate more libraries into the distribution, and just make it easier for data scientists to use GPUs and get up and going quickly.
That's awesome. There's a lot of excitement. I was at your annual conference a couple of weeks ago in San Francisco and had the privilege of speaking there, and it's just, the excitement is palpable. People are really behind you and really excited about what GPUs can do for data science. So thank you for coming.
Excellent.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Josh. All right, man.
Have a good one.
See you later. So I want to talk a little bit about product innovation in 2019. We got a lot going on at Anaconda, and I'm really excited to talk about it. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our investment in open source. Everybody asks me all the time, like, why open source? Why are you guys investing in it? It's a big investment for a little old company like you. We invest in open source for two reasons. The first reason is the innovation in the open source community is objectively faster than innovation in proprietary software companies. That's just a fact, right? The second reason is open source in the open source community is the best way to get cutting technology in the hands of practitioners. Those are the two reasons we invest in open source. And in fact, Anaconda has over 20 full-time employees working on open source software. That's a really big number. Even really, really large companies can't tout that kind of full-time employee number around open source. We're very proud of that. So then there's the second question, right? What is the role of an enterprise company to support open source software? Well, a lot of it is doing some nuts and bolts stuff like ensuring broad compatibility across a variety of platforms, clouds, chipsets, security systems, and so forth. That's a very, very integral thing that we do in our company is to get that kind of compatibility. It's abstracting the complexity of early technology. So we've done a lot of that around GPUs with NVIDIA, extracting the complexity in our enterprise platform, right? So that an IT administrator can use very complex technologies with confidence. The third thing is scaling to enterprise requirements. A lot of times open source software doesn't scale as well as we'd like, and so we put some oomph behind it to give that kind of industrial scale that our customers need. And finally, a lot of what we do is we work with people like Rahul at Charles Schwab as a strategic partner. to have a discussion about how a company guides themselves through a fairly complex series of technologies. We're really excited to be a strategic partner with a number of cutting-edge companies in data science. So that's a quick explanation about our role in open source and how we believe we can be good stewards of the open source community. I want to talk a little bit about what is a complete platform. Everybody says they're a platform, right? Well, what is a platform in this context, right? To be the operating system of data science, as Rahul says, what do you need, right? Well, the first thing you need is runtime deployment, to be platform agnostic and deploy to a number of environments. That's really, really important. The second thing you need is data access, the ability to go and get data from a variety of sources, whether it's Hadoop, Snowflake, Oracle, SQL Server database. We hook into all those things, and our customers like to be able to draw data from a number of different sources. The third thing is enterprise repository, adding value to the open source repository by creating governance and audit capabilities that are very, very important to our customers. And then last but not least is user experience, understanding who's using our software and how do we give them the kind of access that adds the most value to their data science experience. That's a complete platform. That's the operating system for data science. So let's talk a little bit about the constituencies. I said at the beginning of my talk, I mentioned that we don't believe in a one-size-fits-all approach to data science. I don't believe in this chimerical concept of a citizen data scientist. That's a myth. That's hype. We have people who practice data science across a number of professions, right? IT leaders, analysts, developers, and data scientists. Those are our constituents. And we don't want to trivialize the experience of data science by calling it citizen data science. So to drill down on this concept, I want to talk about a really great feature in the enterprise repository. The enterprise repository is something where we add value around governance of packages, license assurance, and a variety of other things. But I want to talk a little bit about security. So Nick, can you come up, please? Nick is one of our top developers in the company. Really happy to have him here. And we're going to walk through a security demo. Now, I will say this. You can get a very, very complete view of this at Krishnan Aguramurthy's talk tomorrow at 3:45. He will get as nasty as you ever want to get. So that's the drill down on this.
Hey, thanks, Scott. So this morning I'm going to demonstrate the remediation of a security vulnerability as well as the creation of a security policy in the next generation AE repo. So in the AE repo, we identify security threats through common vulnerabilities and exploits, CVEs. The CVE program was started in the late 90s as a way to standardize the identification and cataloging of such vulnerabilities and exploits. Now, if I can direct your attention to the giant screen behind me, we are here on the next generation AE repo admin dashboard. And as you can see, a new CVE alert has appeared. And this one looks particularly concerning as it has a 9.8 out of 10 overall score. But let's go ahead and dig deeper. So here on the CVE details page, we can see along the right here why this CVE is a 9.8 out of 10. There's some detailed information there. In addition, we can look and see that one package is affected by this vulnerability, and it's NumPy. In fact, NumPy, any version less than 1.16.0. But the most impressive thing about the CVE details page is how this vulnerability affects Anaconda Enterprise. In particular, what deployments and projects are affected. So as an IT admin, the thing that's most concerning to me are any vulnerabilities that are active. And by looking at this list of deployments, I can see all 6 of them are running. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of them and see what actions I can take. So first, I can decide to terminate all of these, which is somewhat of a temporary solution, because someone could decide to simply redeploy those. Or I could resolve and redeploy, and what that's going to do is it's going to terminate those deployments, and then it's going to take the vulnerable packages up to the latest non-vulnerable version, and then redeploy. Lastly, I can simply decide to notify the owner of those deployments. But in this case, I think I want to go ahead and resolve and redeploy. So now I'm presented with a dialog that gives a little more detail as to the versions of NumPy in each of these deployments. Luckily for me, they're all running the same version, NumPy 1.11.0, which according to semantic versioning, should be a backwards compatible upgrade from 1.11.0 to the latest non-vulnerable version, which is 1.16.2. So I feel comfortable. I'm going to go ahead and resolve and redeploy. And after a few moments here, I can see, there you have it. I've manually remediated a security vulnerability. But wouldn't it be awesome if we could do this automatically? Well, if I pop back to the admin dashboard here, I can click to configure a security policy. Now you can see on the security policy screen here, there's two sections to this. We've got up top here the ability to create filters on a variety of attributes within a CVE, things like attack complexity, attack vector, scope, so on and so forth. In addition, we have overlaid a few Anaconda enterprise attributes, in this case, environment. Sorry about that. I didn't know if that... Can you guys hear me? All right, sorry about that. In this case, we also have some AE attributes, in this case, environment. So down below, as I click around up here, down below, you will see the list of CVEs being filtered below. Now, the CVE data that we're looking at below is all historical CVE data. And the purpose of this is to afford the IT admin the ability to see how their filters would have affected previously ingested CVE data. So as an IT admin, I think I want to create a security policy for my production environment, one that actually catches any CVE with an overall score of 7 and higher. So what I'm going to do is select production, overall score 7, 8, 9, and 10, and I can see that historically this would have affected 4 CVEs. Pretty bad looking ones too, I might add. As well as 11 deployments and 5 packages. This looks good. I'm going to go ahead and create policy, and I'm presented with the ability to see the filters that I just clicked on. So yes, this looks good. And I'm going to go ahead and resolve and redeploy. And I'm going to name this, which is going to be hard to do since I'm holding a mic. So I'll just do this one-handed and name it Nick. Hit create, and there you have it. So the next time a CVE with a score higher than 7 comes into the system that affects my production environment, it will automatically be resolved and redeployed. So that concludes the security portion of the next generation AE repo demo. Thank you guys so much for your time. Scott, back to you.
That was awesome. And thanks, Nick. Thanks for doing it one-handed. I think we're going to have a smooth AV experience from here. I got hooked up again, and I'm not going to wiggle around, so hopefully I won't lose my mic again. So that's the IT component of that platform and the constituencies I was talking about. Now let's focus on something that we're doing for data scientists. What data scientists want to do is have some advanced visualization tools without doing a lot of Python coding. And we've done some really great work there. So I want to welcome Jim Bednar, one of our senior engineers here, up on stage to give you that demo. Thanks, Jim.
All right, so the only thing you actually have to remember is pybiz.org. Everything else is superfluous. So basically, pybiz.org is our website that talks all about our initiatives to make Python data visualization faster, easier, more powerful, more interactive, support streaming, all sorts of things. Basically, we're taking whatever we find in the Python ecosystem for DataViz and trying to push on it, push the envelope, make it better, make it solve people's problems better. And so I'll show you a few examples, but you can explore all you want at pybiz.org. And right after this talk, over there, I'll be giving a talk about our newest package. We're very excited about it. It's called Panel. And Panel lets you take pretty much any plotting library, anything in Python, actually anything in R as well, and put it into something where you can easily control it with widgets. You don't have to choose, you don't have to make your dashboarding solution match your plotting library. You can just mix and match, and that's really good if you have a team where you have people with different opinions, which is what a team is. So nobody has to agree, just everybody contributes, and then you can all work together. In this case, this is a bokeh plot, a plotly plot, an Altair plot, and a matplotlib plot. Whatever, it just works. And the same for lots of other different types of data. But But our real focus is not just on the cool things you can do, but on the path from where you are right now to being able to deliver something. And so I will show you a little code. Let's say you've got some code, and it makes a pretty plot. This is a meaningless plot, but it's a pretty plot. Then with a single line of panel code, you can take that plot and suddenly deploy it as a dashboard. Right now, that popped up it figured out the arguments of it, pops up a dashboard, and now you can fiddle with it and see the effects of the parameters, do whatever you like. So this doesn't mean a whole lot, but hopefully you can see the relationship between the process that we're imagining is that somebody's sitting in a Jupyter notebook, they do some stuff, and they get a visualization, and they want to be able to explore it, they do this. They want to be able to share it, they do this, and then they hit the deploy button in Anaconda Enterprise, and then it's shared. So here's an example of, well, actually, this one's running locally, but some of these are on Anaconda Enterprise, some are locally. Here's another example. This is illustrating our library panel, which is doing the dashboard. Also illustrates data shader, bokeh. Behind the scenes is Dask, Numba. This is 1 billion points of data running here on my laptop. Let's see if it's swapped out, but when I zoomed in, what it's doing is going back to Python each time you zoom in and telling it to filter all the data and re-render it at the new resolution. And so it's able to process all 1 billion points every time I do this. Zoom in lets you explore all of the structure that you see at different levels without choking, without having any problem about your data size. And the code to do this actually is all very carefully tied so that, let's say, this will happen instantaneously because that can be done at the very last step. It doesn't involve filtering the data, it's just about the plot. And so we have to carefully tie each bit of computation to each widget. But the code for that is still, it's 48 lines. It recently dipped below 50, which I enjoyed. And it's just a Jupyter notebook. It's a Jupyter notebook. It declares some parameters. It declares what their ranges are. And then it says which bits of computation depend on those parameters. And you can get quite responsive, quite interactive, specially constructed just for you, things that are really just in a Jupyter notebook, and you deploy the Jupyter notebook in AE5, or on your own machine if you want. And you can do fairly complicated things like cross-filtering, selecting, having joint selections across every plot to really narrow in on a certain subset of the data. This is all interactive plots. You can build fairly complex dashboards that that can capture a whole, if you have a domain of some sort, let's say you do a lot of simulations, and you have whole families of different types of objects, you can easily just annotate those objects with information about what parameters they have, and then build a GUI on top of that in just a few lines of code once you've captured what each of those objects do. And then you hit this nice little deploy button. So once you've got it working on your laptop, you're happy, you make it into an Anaconda project, you hit deploy, and then you no longer need the computer you started with. It's just available to everybody. You can share it at a static URL. If you go to the panel.pybiz.org site, you'll see a few links to Anaconda Enterprise deployed things. You can hit them. They're public. You can explore everything yourself. And, well, I don't need to display that. So, thank you very much. Come use our tools. They're all free.
Thanks, Jim. I really appreciate that. That's a great demo. Isn't that awesome to be able to do those kind of visualizations in a low-code sort of way? I get really excited about it. I also get really excited about the following demo. This is getting analysts where they live, right? Giving analysts the full power of Anaconda Enterprise without having them leave the environment they know and love, which is Excel. So this is about, well, it's true. I know and love Excel. So I want to welcome Fabio Plieger up to the stage. All right, Fabio, dude, I got to land this line. This has got to be the smokiest photograph of anybody. Like, that is, your nickname should be Sultry Fabio Plieger. So there was a vote at the company, and most people in the company voted, dude, that you should do this demo shirtless. Just saying. But anyway, all kidding aside, this is a very powerful demo showing the power of Excel as a front end for Anaconda Enterprise. Take it away, Fabio.
Thanks, Scott. If you want the shirtless demo tomorrow at Krishnan session, 3:40, maybe. I will talk with my manager and see how it goes. But on a serious side of things, the demo today is going to be really talking about Anaconda Fusion and the work that we have been doing around it as a new service of our Anaconda Enterprise platform. And the whole idea of Fusion is really to connect the link between all the personas that we saw previously in the presentation. Historically, it has always been very hard to surface all those lower levels, data, algorithms, models, and everything to the high level of the chain and analysts that live inside Excel, work with the data with the tool that they love, and really have a hard time connecting to all the other departments inside a company and getting the big data from clusters or accessing models and all that. So what you're seeing here is the Anaconda Fusion Client AI. Previously to the demo, I deployed 4 APIs through Anaconda Fusion. The deployment of those is pretty seamless compared to the usual deployment. We just mark things as Anaconda Fusion ready, and those appear through the AI. As you can see, the look and feel is pretty familiar to the Anaconda Enterprise user. And this interface lets users, Excel users, access the models or data that I'm exposing. It shows some metadata so that they can look for what search for what they're looking for. They can filter the data and have access to the description and everything that other users of Anaconda Enterprise define in them. So as a first demo, I want to start with a pretty common example where I want to have access to a large data set sitting somewhere accessible through Anaconda Enterprise. You can think of a Hadoop cluster or a SQL Server database and everything that we really can provide with a data science platform. In this case, I'm using the New York taxi data set, which is fairly large. It is a few gigabytes of size. And I built a model, an API that lets specify a field in the data that I want to group by, transform the data, group the data, and then perform an aggregation on top of that data. So in this case, we'll do payment type. We love autocorrect. And I will aggregate by sum, execute. And the flow is pretty simple. Fusion sends all the arguments to the server side. My model or API or algorithm collects the inputs, do all the computation in Anaconda Enterprise where the data lives, and then the function itself takes care of reducing the data, and then Fusion will take care of data transformation and typing, matching, and all that. Get back the results to Excel and write to the spreadsheet. And I can change, run again. We will do the computation and get back to Excel. As a second example, since I'm working with taxi data, I created an API that lets Excel users query the same data, looking at the past days for a comparison between total bill and tips, and visualize that data in a different type of plot compared to what I have in Excel. In this case, data scientists and other members of the Anaconda Enterprise user family, they can create functions that are complex and create APIs that gives a nice visualization, as Jim showed, and they can integrate those visualizations inside their spreadsheet and make it part part of that work. As last example, I want to reuse one of the examples that we have inside Anaconda Enterprise already, which is a simple model around Scotch recommendations. It's a model that will receive an argument, a parameter, a name of a Scotch, and then look for similarities in the characteristics of the other Scotches, and then provide top 5 suggestions around what I might like. In this case, differently from the example that we have, I want to provide the data from directly inside Excel to the model itself. So I will provide the range here. And then type the name. It's taking the data, sending to the server, running the model, computing all the similarities among Scotches, and then getting the result back to me. In this case, let's see if I change some values and reduce sweetness, add some tobacco, and then rerun it. It will provide a different result as this. That's pretty much it for the demo. If you want to know more, I'll be around at the booth during the conference, and I'll be at the session with Krishnan. Thank you very much.
I got to say, that's pretty awesome. People get excited about that. And we already have a few people out there who are using it. I have to add that all of this stuff is available over the coming weeks. And we'll let you know if you're on our mailing list when we're releasing these really exciting front ends. Now, I have my special secret guest star about to come up on stage. And everybody knows that developers want to access data science. In fact, when we survey our users, about 1/3 of them are developers of the open source distribution. Now, the interesting thing is, developers aren't super happy when they're doing data science with the IDEs and notebooks that are available today. So our head of product, our CPO, Lars Eva, and I started thinking, like, who's the most natural company to partner with? Who absolutely dominates this space? Who is known and loved for IDEs? Well, folks, I think that's JetBrains. And we have Max here from St. Petersburg. Thanks for coming up, dude. And we're going to talk about our partnership with JetBrains. And we're going to talk about this awesome thing. Hey, man.
Hey.
Long time no see.
Yeah, like 20 minutes.
20 minutes, something like that. I'm going to have to sit like this because I don't want to make my mic fall off. But I'm really excited about PyCharm for Anaconda. It's taking the robust backend that we produce with the leading producer of IDEs and notebooks in the entire world. So I'm really psyched to have you here, Max.
Thanks for having me.
It's a super famous company. Everybody knows about JetBrains, PyCharm, IntelliJ, all these classic IDEs in the company. But no one really knows about the people behind the company. Can you tell me a little bit about your company culture?
Yeah, sure, of course. Well, you know, it's a funny story. When the night before, I was checking into a hotel, and I have this jacket with my JetBrains logo on it, and there's a lady right behind me said, "Oh, you're working for JetBrains." And we love PyCharm, we love you guys. It was so flattering, so unexpected, because when for the software development conference, I kind of expect that people know us, but for the data science, it was just unexpected. But thank you so much. Speaking of the JetBrains and the culture in the company, what we actually do is we do everything we can for the productivity of the developers, of the software developers. And to do that, we have two things. One thing is we have a technological insight. So back then, when it started 19 years ago, a little bit shy of the Google's age, we had an idea that we should not treat the code as a text, and just like any other IDE does still. And we need to find out the structure of the code, because the code is essentially a structured thing. And once you have insight into the structure, you can provide so many helpful insights, so many helpful features so developers understand, navigate, search, change the code, whatever they like. Yeah, and that I would say that insight lies in the foundation of so many of our products. All of them, I believe. So what we do, we try and get these productivity features for whatever language or whatever technology you're using as a software developer. You guys all know PyCharm, but we also have so many other products. In some cases, it just, for some applications, what we've got now, the technologies and languages, we feel that it's not adequate. So we, in a search for developer productivity, we can go as far as creating our own programming language, which is called Kotlin, very popular these days. This is it, I think, about JetBrains. This is the core of it.
Very cool. And why data science? Why are you interested in this?
What we see recently, especially with PyCharm, and it looks like data scientists become more and more interested in real developer techniques that developers use, because we think that that's because the models, the notebooks and stuff like data scientists use every day become more and more complex, and they have more and more structure, and they need these insights that we can get from the structure of the code, right? And at the same time, machine learning and artificial intelligence is so demanding for the products that software developers do these days. So it's just very natural observation that these two worlds go into collide. I mean, they go into collaborate to work together. Mm-hmm. And should I say that we have some ideas, some things that I will, if you wouldn't mind, I can show it to you.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Yep.
All right, Max is going to do a demo. This is going to be awesome. And Max is going to be channeling the developer doing data science
that's
on
all our
PyCharm for Anaconda.
I will show the PyCharm today, which is mine. Okay. This is the very latest version of the PyCharm Professional Edition released this week. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project. Of course, let's call it demo. Demo. And while preparing for this, the conference, we've done quite a lot of work collaborating with Anaconda. So there's some Anaconda integration. You can choose either new Conda environment or use existing one. I would prefer to use existing one because it downloads all this stuff, so you don't have to wait during the presentation. Okay. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to show some fresh stuff, which is Jupyter Notebook support. I'm going to create new Jupyter Notebook, call it whatever you'd like, main, and so here we are. This is it. I can play with something like, let's have some simple Markdown support showing. Hello, Anaconda. This is it. Easy. Then I'll probably have to play with some code because I'm talking about developer practices today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have like a few numbers along the X line, normally distributed, and same numbers or similar numbers distributed along Y line, and I'm going to plot them together. So I expect to have some picture with cloud in the center of it. You know, it's normal distribution. Okay, so I need NumPy for a number, for the random numbers, and it doesn't know what NP is, which is quite understandable because I did not have it imported. So I'll enter and import NumPy. Okay. Moving further, I need to have random, and I need to initialize a seed. Okay, here we are. Then I need some real numbers, random. Let's have it, I don't know, 1,000 of them. We execute. It starts in Jupyter server, and we have these numbers. Nothing fancy so far. I would like those numbers to be more like naturally aligned. So I have 100 as a mean, and let's have some 15 as a sigma. Okay, it does work. And this is X. Then I'm going to have Y line. Everything is fine, except developers don't do like that. Developers normally would think that we need to give a proper names to the constants, because otherwise I don't know what this 100 means, or 15 means, or 1,000 means. And I'm using introduce variable refactoring for, let it be, I wouldn't say that a proper name, but anyway, that's fine for the demo. And introduce variable refactoring against sigma. And this is, this is n. Fine. So now I can have my while array of numbers, right? No, because developers, they tend to, there's a motto, do not repeat yourself, which is important because we can have bugs in the code you've been copying, or, which is more important, by introducing a function, you normally introduce a new abstraction, and developers tend to introduce new abstractions whenever it's possible, whenever it makes sense. Sometimes even far too often. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to invoke extract method refactoring, give this function a name. It's going to be my rand. Okay, here we are. We have a function, and the expression is replaced with a call to that function. Fine, so I can now have my y numbers. Are we satisfied? Somewhat, but you know, the cell looks like a mess now. It's just too much code in it, right? I would like to remove all that from somewhere place where I didn't have to see each time. So I invoke move refactoring, and I move that to this some helpers file. And the IDE suggests that if I'm going to move this my rand function, I would probably need to move the dependent variables too, like m, sigma, and n. Fine, I invoke refactor. And now there's the red code, means that it will not execute normally because we cannot resolve this. And we need to alt-enter import it. Cool. So it's going to work now. We have x and y arrays. You can explore them if you like. You can have different representation for this data exploration stuff. Like I can, for instance, have first 10 of them. Cool. The color means the distribution within the sample. The brighter the color, the higher the number. Okay, I will not need it again. So I now need some pictures. I'm going to use matplotlib for that. pyplot and scale. Okay. And I'm going to plot it, x, y, and make them red. Executing. And now we have some picture. But I would say that that's not the picture I expected. I asked for normal distribution, doesn't certainly looks like normal one. And when developers see a problem, the first thing they think about is, I need a debugger. So we can now have a debugger for the Jupyter notebooks, like I set the breakpoint, and I choose to debug this cell. And I can explore variables that I have. I can have some kind of REPL, so I can execute some expressions, or I can change the values of whatever variables I need. And last but not least, I can step through the code. So I step over this function call, and then step into this function call, and let's read what we have here. That's not needed. M is 100, sigma is 15, fine, n is 1,000. What's rand? I can't remember what's rand, so I invoke the help function, fetching documentation, said it returns some random values. It doesn't mention any distribution. So at this point, as a data scientist, I need to remember that I had to call different function, which is called run-n. Let's verify the documentation. Yeah, that's what I need. Cool. So I presumably fixed the problem, and due to current limitation of the Jupyter Notebook support, whenever I change, you can see the server log. Whenever I change the external file, I have to restart the kernel. So I stop it, and I start it again. And I'm going back to the notebook file, and execute this cell, and execute that cell. Still, it doesn't work. Let me verify if I changed, if I did. So let's do some minion actions. This is very early draft, so we'll fix all the problems. No. What else can I do? Save, yeah, right. It's always flattering to get some help from the friends, you know. Okay. Yeah, now we have it. Thank you so much. This is it for today, and I hope the collaboration with Anaconda will help us understand what developer techniques actually needed for data scientists and what is just my imagination.
Hey, thanks, Max.
Thank you,
I really appreciate you coming over. These guys have been great. We've really enjoyed working with them. We've had a really collaborative experience. And the great thing about working with the JetBrains folks is, you know, despite the fact that they're from Eastern Europe and we're from the United States, the cultural affinity between the two companies has been awesome. So thank you again. I really, really appreciate all the hard work. Please give Max and the JetBrains folks a round of applause. Okay, I mentioned complete platform, and a really, really important part of a complete platform is making sure that you cater to each of the constituencies who participate in data science on that platform. So whether it's an analyst, a data scientist, a developer, an IT pro, we've really demonstrated today that we address the needs of each one of those constituents. So really, really happy about that. I want to close out all our remarks by saying, hey, this is a great conference, right? It's a community plus knowledge equals fun. And I know we're going to have a great time in the next day and a half, and I really hope to get a chance to talk to many of you while you're here. So thank you very much for coming, and look forward to having a great couple of days. Thanks.